Good morning, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this video. My name is Sam, and today's video we're going to be looking at some level select in Unity. So, let's get started and take a look at how to make a pretty simple but super efficient level select system. Alright, so first off we need a new scene that we can actually call our level select scenes. So let's go ahead and make a new scene and call this level select. Open that up. Awesome, so it's completely blank, and since this is going to be mostly UI, let's go ahead and create a UI canvas. Awesome, so to focus on it, go ahead and press 2D, make sure it's selected in the hierarchy, and press F in the scene view. Now go ahead and create a UI text, and this is going to be the title for the screen. If you click on one of these drag handles and you hold Alt and Shift, it'll scale up the whole thing. And let's go ahead and just call this level select. Let's move up this font size to like 58, seems good, and center it in the center of the paragraph there. Awesome. Let's also add an outline component to make the script look a little better, or to make the text look a little better. Go ahead and move the alpha all the way up, and go ahead and put that color a little bit darker and change this effect distance to be 2. Oh, and let's go ahead and just make it a little bit lighter. Yeah, something like that. Awesome. Go ahead and move this up, and we have a nice little title for our level select screen. So let's go ahead and change the scaling so this scales with the right size, and change it from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. Change that reference resolution to be 1920 by 1080, and we can just match it by width. We're going to need to change the font size up a little bit more to match it, and if we change it to 100, this should work just fine. Awesome. So let's create some buttons for our level select. So let's go ahead and create an empty to hold them, and let's call these level buttons. And let's go ahead and create a UI button. Cool. So now that we have that, go ahead and delete the UI sprite out of there just to make the button look a little bit nicer. And what we can do is we can just set the width to 200 and the height 200. Awesome. So now we need to mess with the text in here. So what we can do is we can change the text to just say 1, change the font size up to be a bit bigger, like something like that, and the color is fine, and let's just go ahead and give this button a normal color of maybe a nice green. That seems good to me. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and take the button, call this level 1, and let's add a grid layout group to this. So it's going to modify the components of this and change that. So let's go ahead and change the cell size back to 200 by 200, and we need to make some more buttons. So go ahead and select your level 1 and press Ctrl D to duplicate it. Ooh, and before we do that, I'm actually going to change this to level parentheses 0 and parentheses, just so that this gets named a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and create 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. Then we can go to our level buttons, and in our grid layout group we can change how this is laid out on our screen. So let's go ahead and change the constraint to a fixed column count and change that to 3. Let's change the spacing to, let's go ahead and say 200, and let's change the Y spacing to 100. Awesome. Now I'm thinking that these aren't quite big enough, so let's change the cell size to 300 by 300, and let's go ahead and move the, let's go ahead and move the actual amount of them to the left so that they're kind of nicely centered on the screen here. Awesome. So that's looking pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and actually make these buttons do something. Ooh, we might also change the text of them as well before we do. So just go ahead and open each one. Change each one to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 respectively. Awesome. So now we have not a great looking level select screen, but it'll do for this tutorial. So go ahead and make a new script, and let's go ahead and just call this level select. Awesome. Go ahead and open that up. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and add some namespaces, because the way that we're going to do this is we are going to use the scene manager to load a scene of a type string, but we're going to add a string variable to it that changes based on what button we clicked. So that way we only have to have one void instead of a bunch of them that take us to different levels. So of course we could make a bunch of public voids and call them like level 1, level 1, level 2, etc., and then assign them to each button. But what I want to do is I want to have a public void that says select level, like this, and now we need some namespaces. So we need to say using Unity Engine dot scene management. We need to say using Unity Engine dot event systems, because we want to get components on the button that we clicked. And then we need to say using Unity Engine dot UI, because we're working with buttons. So now that we have that, what we can do is we can create a new variable of type string. So we can say string and say it's a level number. Alright, and we're going to set this equal to our event systems dot current. So what is the current event system? And then we're saying the current selected game object on that event system, and we're saying dot game object. What's the error here? Event system. That just needs to be no s. So event system dot current selected game object dot game object dot transform. So what we're doing is we're saying get the current selected game object, and we're getting the game object component dot transform, and we're going to get the first child of that. So get child 0. So what is the first child? Because if we go back into Unity, if we get this button, the text object is going to be the first child. So if we go back in, we get that first child, and we want to get the text object of that, so we have to say .get component text, and then we want to say .text, because we want to get what that says. So now we're having a string that the level number that is being set equal to this text when we click on the button. And then all we have to do now is load the scene. So let's go ahead and say scene manager dot load scene, and we can say it's level, and then add this space, and then plus our level number. And what this will do is this will load a scene with the name of level, and then whatever the number is we have on our level. So of course we could just say that we could load the scene of our level number, and then if we load our scene like that, it'll work. So what will happen here is what we're trying to do is load each scene, because see how this level is exactly the same as level 1. So that's how it finds is it searches for all the scenes and then loads it. Awesome. So let's go ahead and just duplicate level 1 so that we have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course they're going to be the same, but we can change those in a future video. And then Unity doesn't know which scenes to use yet, so we have to go File and Build Settings. I'm going to go ahead and delete the scenes in build by just clicking it and clicking delete, because that was our sample scenes. And then I'm going to highlight all of these and drag them in. And then I'm also going to drag in our level select screen. and I'm going to drag it all the way to the top because when the game starts, I want this to be the first one. Awesome. So now that we have that, if we go ahead and click each one of these so that they're minimized, we can select each button, and on this on-click part of the button component, we can add script clicks. So like what happens when we click it, and we can reference a script. So to do that, we need to go ahead and add our script somewhere. So we can create an empty, and I'm going to call this level manager, and I'm just going to go ahead and add the level select script to it. Awesome. So I'll just drag that up above our canvas, select all the buttons, and I'll drag that level manager in here because we want to reference the scripts on the level manager. So now you see we can have access to our level select script. So I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to select level select level, because in our script we have this method that is select level, so it's corresponding to that. So now if we go back, we can see that when we click our button here, we click our play button, and if we select one of these buttons, it'll take us to our level. Just like that. So, of course, what you can do later is you can, in each level, you can put a button that takes you back to the level screen, and that's really easy to do. You just do the exact same thing. So, that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something new. I think this is kind of a neat way to do this where you only have to have one method. So, thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.